Hi, my name is Kyle Ragins, and I am a lowly resident at UCLA, but I do have some experience doing organizing politically with Doctors for America and National Physicians Alliance, as well as sports teams, clubs, all kinds of things. And so what I'm going to be talking to you today is about organizing. Now, what I'm going to be talking about is mostly theory and advice, and it's mostly just based on my opinion and my own experience in the last 10 to 20 years of my life organizing groups of people, but it's also based on the ideas of some other people who are smarter than me. The main people that shape my thinking on this are these guys, Marshall Gans and Saul Alinsky. Depending on your political persuasion, you probably either think these guys are the spawn of Satan or geniuses when it comes to analyzing human behavior. And so take it for what you will. Organizing, this is kind of the so what slide. Most of you guys here are probably not that interested in political organizing, but organizing is really just getting groups of people together to act on something. So if there's anything you want to get done in your hospital, your community, or in your country, you can do it. It doesn't have to look like people marching in the streets. It could look like a meeting of people like this getting together and working on an issue. And when it comes to organizing, the number one thing that's going to determine your success or failure in terms of getting people to work together on an issue is really individual relationships. And so that means having one-on-one conversations with people and really developing your relationship with them, understanding what makes them tick. Now, in today's social media, people have a million different friends on Facebook, but that's definitely not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about getting together with people and really developing a social bond, which means understanding their values and having one-on-one conversations with them. It means getting out there in the world and doing things and really having shared experiences. And the thing that I'm really bad at, but I would encourage you to do, is try to make yourself vulnerable. It's not just asking questions about what other people care about, but also sharing things about yourself, your insecurities, your fears, your hopes, your dreams, and not always trying to make yourself come off like a superstar. So when you actually go about using these relationships to try to organize people, what often people do is just send out a mass email or a Facebook post saying, hey everybody, I'm going to do this thing, come do it. And in my experience, that very, very rarely works. What does work is asking a person in person if possible, but if not, by a text message or an individual email and saying, hey, can you do this thing? I want you there. And you could ask 10 people to do something one-on-one, and you might get 7 people to do it, or you could send an email to 1,000 people, and you might get 7 people to do it. So I really think it's important. And it's not easy. You got to practice. You'd be surprised how difficult it is. So interestingly enough, it seems like it's easier to ask strangers. So I recommend practicing by doing like a phone bank or something like that, asking strangers, and then asking your friends and getting used to it. And so getting people to say yes when you make that ask really depends on that relationship like we talked about, but there's 2 other things that I think are really important. If you're asking them to do things for your organization, they're going to make them feel important and impactful, and if they're going to feel socially engaged in that organization, and you're providing an opportunity for them to feel a sense of belonging. So you should really structure your activities to do this. So encourage members of an organization to draw on their own individual relationships and design activities to make them feel important and impactful. So get the press there to cover it, give them a leadership position, make them feel like what they're doing matters. And when you can, make those social opportunities happen too. So get together in person to work on whatever you're working on. And then once you have, your group of people that you're trying to get to do something, you have to design a campaign. And designing a campaign as an organizer is really about designing a narrative and having a story that people can buy into. And so people talk about the story of the self, the story of us, and the story of now. And what this really is understanding that person, their values, understanding your group and your organization, and then understanding what you're trying to get people to do. That's the story of the now. And if you can put together that narrative and make those individual asks, then you're really going to have a lot of success in organizing people to action. So, I've talked about how important this is to have these individual relationships and really understand people, and that's obviously very difficult to scale. When you're talking about running like a political campaign or something like that, Obama had 10,000 teams organizing across Ohio with this snowflake model. And the way that they did that is they did build on individual relationships, but they had a disseminated leadership model where the leaders aren't telling everyone what to do and having an individual relationship. They have a relationship with organizers that then have the individual relationships that they're asking people to go out and do things. The good thing about this is you don't have to scale your model. And when you're building an organization, almost always just 1 or 2 people who are dedicated to it define success and failure. Because all that really matters is that you're able to build that individual relationship and make that ask. So if there's something out there that you're interested in getting done, all you have to do is build those relationships and be brave enough to make the ask of people. And that's really going to what leads to success when you come to organizing people. Thanks.
Thanks so much, judges.
Great talk, thank you. I think physicians have a very strong tradition of complacency, and you challenge us not to be complacent in society, and also hearkening back to the other Ignite presentation that was about wellness and how there are structural factors in our workplaces that don't have to do with staring at our navels, that we should be not be complacent in those settings too. So thank you for the charge.